All right, guys. So, welcome to our Wednesday call. Today we've got a very special guest here. We've got Eric Noel. It's one of our sort of more successful clients. Just came on recently. He's been able to find some success with the program. So, what I wanted to do was just get him on here for maybe 15, 20 minutes and just give a little bit of insight on sort of what he found to be, the main driver of success when using the system, and just sort of pick his brain a little bit. If you guys have questions for Eric as well, make sure to leave them in the chat. So yeah, Eric, I think I just got to get you unmuted here and we should be good to go. Just let me know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly here. So let me just optimize everything on the call. And yeah, we're good. So yeah, how's it going today, Eric?
Not too bad. And yourself?
Awesome. I'm super good, and I'm happy to have you on the call here. I love getting sort of little interviews done like this on the live calls, as this is obviously like a space where it's easy to get frustrated, and you can sort of get that tunnel vision of like, am I ever going to get any results? And you're sort of a great example of a success story where that's happened. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more about your time in the program today. Sort of outline the steps that you took to see success and sort of like timeframes on that, like how much was spent on the ads, and really just give some value and motivation to anybody that sort of feels like they're underutilizing the system. So obviously, first thing I want to have you do is sort of introduce yourself, your history, what market you're currently performing in. And yeah, so Eric, like, let me know. Don't let me sort of steal the spotlight here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. So I'm in the east coast of Canada. I have about 10 years experience as an agent. So a couple years in downtown Toronto, and then most of it being out here. So I think it was 6.5, 7 years out here, a couple years there, and I just moved back last July, obviously when COVID hit. I because I was starting new again, because I was gone for 3 years and I was starting new, I needed a way to generate leads besides friends and family. So obviously this is why this worked out great. I started the program, I think mid-July, and within 3 weeks I had an accepted offer, which closed middle of August. So that worked out pretty good, because that was almost a 10 grand commission. So that pretty much paid for, the entire service for the year, plus most of my ad spend. So I think I started out the first couple of weeks just doing 300 a month ad spend as recommended. And then I went to 500, and then I went to 800. And then just recently I scaled it down to 600, because I'll be honest, at 800, I was getting too many leads and I'm handling them all myself. Right. So I was just trying to find out what would be a good balance. So on average, I've made a few tweaks, but I think I'm getting about 5 to 7 leads a day. And my routine is pretty simple, straightforward. I just, every morning before I start my work day and do my viewings, usually between 10 and noon, I hit the phones and I call any callbacks that I've spoken to in the past that need a follow-up. I call any new leads that come in, call and text, obviously. And that's it. So I try to at least call any new leads that come in a minimum of 3 times, probably not 3 times consistently in a row. I'll call, say a new lead coming in today would get a call today, maybe in 2 days. And then I make sure that the last call is in the evening if I haven't spoken to them in the evening. And then after that, I just let the system do its thing. But when I call them, they always get a voicemail or an audio text and some regular texts. So besides what the system is doing, I'm making sure that I'm calling them 3 times and leaving voicemail or texts. So I'm doing, 5 or 6 touch points on my own, just so they can hear my actual voice and know that I'm not a robot. So obviously I have experience with online leads from when I was in Toronto with condos.ca. The conversion rates are quite low, as we know, 1.5%, but you just got to keep calling, keep messaging. And then once your database starts to grow out of the blue, you'll just start getting calls. Can I see this can I see this place? And then you make sure they're qualified, and then you go. I have spoken to, quite a few people that have interest. They're either working on getting an approval or just watching the market, because the market is, at least for our market, is going up quite a bit. There is another client that I have taken out for a few showings, but their budget is quite low. So she hasn't pulled the trigger yet, but I closed one deal in the first 3 weeks. I've been out with another buyer, and I did get a listing appointment, which I knew in meeting the person that they weren't listing until probably 6 months from now. But I went out, took a look at the home, took some pictures, gave her an idea of what it's worth now, and then we'll resume that in January because she was out west. So yeah, I'm very satisfied right now. I'll be honest, I'm just playing around with where I'm advertising and how much budget I should do in my own province versus Ontario, for example. So I'm just kind of tweaking it a little bit. But it's been pretty good so far. I wasn't expecting to close my first deal for about 3 or 4 months, and maybe I got lucky, but I got one in 3 weeks. So it worked out good.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I mean, I didn't even know it was 3 weeks. I thought it was a little bit longer. So that's awesome that you sort of had that person already sign under. I mean, in terms of like what you were doing before, I know you mentioned you hopped around, but this is really like the first thing that you sort of implemented when you had moved. But I mean, you mentioned you work with like condos.ca. That's a big online like lead generating sort of entity. So I mean, what were you doing to sort of get clients before you had signed on with us?
Yeah, so when I was in Toronto, I signed up for condos.ca just to get to work for them because of the online lead aspect, and it was good. I did well. It was the same type of thing. There was probably maybe a few more dud leads with them because you're allowed to take more leads per day, and a lot of them were obviously rental leads. So you're doing a lot of rentals. You're obviously doing sales as well, but sometimes leads classified as a sale lead end up being a rental lead because you're able to go in the system and kind of pick and choose. But it gave me good experience to be able, what I'm doing now out here. Obviously, a Toronto market is more mature than Halifax, Nova Scotia. So depending on the agents that are on the call now and where you're working, me getting a deal in 3 weeks is probably more realistic in a smaller city in the East Coast than it would be in Toronto. It may take 6-8 months to get your first deal and really grow a database. But I mean, I get a database of almost 600 leads, and I only started mid July. So those leads are my wife helps me out every day. I log in and I call the leads, but she also sets them all up on a search from the MLS, which obviously, as you know, takes a lot of time. So she spends 30 minutes to an hour every day. So they're getting calls from me, texts from me, voicemails from me. They're getting whatever the system is doing regularly. And then they're also getting daily alerts as when listings go up. And the listings are set up the same as the ad. My ad in Nova Scotia says homes under 400. So I set them up on a list basically for single family homes or duplexes, because out in this market, condos is not that strong. And it's basically between 175K to 400K is what I set them for. In a more expensive market, you can choose what works. It's just to get leads, get my name out, and get people calling, emailing, and asking questions. And it's working. When I moved back here and I started, luckily I know a few agents that are quite successful, and a lot of my business that I've gotten and I still get is from leads off of their listings. But obviously I have to give a portion of my commission for that. So that obviously is another revenue stream for me. But with this here, once this gets rolling, I think I should, at a $600 a month budget, I'm pretty sure I should be able to close 2 deals a month ongoing. It might take me 6 months to get to that point, but I do believe that's where I should be. And if I can't be there at $600 a month ad budget, then I might just tweak the ad budget a little bit higher, maybe to $800 to maybe make that difference, right?
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, if you're at $600 a month and you're acquiring 2 clients, like a $300 a $300 cost to acquire for a $10,000 commission. I mean, it's not half bad, I would say. For so I mean, like one thing I definitely want to touch on here as well is making sure that, you know, because we have agents, right, that are going to use the system. And obviously you've worked with condos.ca, you've worked in a very saturated market where you really have to grind out those leads. But just some people, you know, they might have like sort of a negative view of you know, like online lead generation. So for any agent that doesn't really have the right mindset towards, you know, these types of leads, like what advice would you give to someone who maybe they log into their CRM every day and a couple of people that say, I'm not interested, and they start to get frustrated, right? Like, you know, how would you sort of go about calming a mind of an agent in that point?
Yeah, it is a lot of work, but I mean, an agent who has no leads to call has nothing to work with. So at least you have something. And, you know, I don't know what the conversion rates are exactly through Generate Agent Leads. You guys would know better than me, but I mean, statistically, I think it's about 1%, 1.5% on average.
Yeah, you're going to be one
You
to
know, so, I mean, just do the math. You got to call 100 leads, maybe slightly more to get someone interested. And then once they're interested, it's your job to make sure you follow up regularly, whether that's every couple of weeks, every couple of months, depending on the time frame, or once daily. I mean, if I know that someone is interested and they're qualified, like I obviously don't have time to drive around and do a formal in-person buyer's consult. I do that over the phone. And if they seem serious, on the spot, I adjust their search, send them an email, pick a few that I think might make sense, and then I tell them to see which ones they like, and then we head out and go do some viewings. That's kind of the strategy. And then if I know they're serious, I have all the new alerts that come daily that come to my phone, and then if I see something that looks good, I screenshot it, I sent it to my clients and say, hey, this might work. I know there's an offer date and it's going to sell over, but it should still be in your budget. If you want to take a look, it's on your email. Go take a look. Again, in a Toronto market where there's hundreds of new listings a day, that's probably harder to do. In Halifax, you're only getting 20, 30 new listings per day. So I can sit there for 10 minutes, scroll through everything, pick some that makes sense for some of my clients and send it to them. But I mean, real estate is all a mindset. I mean, you got to, in the beginning, when I first started 10 years ago, I was just door knocking, doing some flyers, cold calling directly from the phone book. Obviously that wasn't very fun. So this here, if someone's not interested, they're just going to avoid you or they're going to hang up. I mean, if you can't get someone on the phone after everything that the CRM is doing, the MLS listings that have already been set up that you know they're getting, and I'm calling 3 times within about a week and a half time frame, if they don't answer or reply within 3 calls, just means they're not ready to discuss at this time. So you just kind of put them to the wayside for now, and then see if they ever reach out to you. Like, I'm getting so many leads now that after I've done the 3 calls, if they're interested at some point, they'll reach out to me. I've done my effort, and I have, which is a bit more work, but I know there's a CRM with Generate Agent Leads, but every day at a certain time, I go in and take all the new leads that came in, I export them to an Excel spreadsheet, and I put them in my own kind of old school Excel spreadsheet. And then I just put them in a certain order of when they need to be called back. And if I've called them 3 times, they didn't reply, I put them, you know, under an unresponsive list. And then if they ever reply, I can go back and see what kind of notes were there. But again, that's the system that I work with, and it works pretty good. But some months there won't be much happening. There'll be a lot of calls and nothing. And some months, you know, I could get 3-4 sales in 1 month. It's all just building your database, keeping your mindset fresh. If you get burnt out, it happens to all of us. Like, I was hitting it pretty hard for most of the summer. I took, you know, for the most part, I took Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, right? We're part of a boat club. We went on a boat, relaxed, you know, drank some wine, and just kind of took a step back. And then tomorrow, I had some calls yesterday. Today, I took a little bit of a day off, and I'll be back on the phones tomorrow. I mean, I generally call every day, not always on the weekends, but at least 5 days a week. But you don't have to do that, especially in the beginning. If you have a 300 a month ad budget and you're only getting 2-3 leads a day, maybe you wait and you only call Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You call 3 days a week, and then you do your follow-ups on those days, and then you book your other stuff in between. I mean, making calls when there's not that many leads and callbacks, it's really only about an hour a day. Like I have a ton of calls for October 1st, so that I'll be doing Friday night, but that may take 2 hours. But generally, it's very manageable, at least at the budget that I have now. I think if I was to scale it to 800, 1,000 or more, I would need some help or a virtual assistant to handle those for me, right? Does anybody have any questions?
I was just muted there. My apologies. You know what? I love the point, sort of remembering about, yeah, like if you're ever feeling burnt out, that's a snowballing effect, right? You know, you're not going to be able to wake up happy in the morning and, you know, treat your clients or treat, you know, your leads with, you know, the kindness that you need to really strike up like a rapport over just text message from a Facebook ad when, you know, you've snowballed, when you've burnt out, you know, when it's been maybe a month and a half, 2 months, and you're really not getting the results that you think you want. Right. You want to always take a step back and, you know, remember that, you know, we are human and, you know, after a month and a half of, you know, too much sort of, you know, negative response from leads, just take a step back, you know, give yourself maybe a day or two, let them go. And then, you know, just come back with a fresh mindset. I think that's definitely very important in any field, but specifically when you're dealing with, you know, people on a commission-based sales basis.
Sorry to cut you off. And another thing is right now, I'd say 65% of my ad campaign is in Nova Scotia, but the balance of it is in Ontario, in the GTA. So if any Ontario realtors working in the GTA, what you're going through now to get business, I'm doing the same thing. The difference is I'm trying to get people living in the GTA looking to move to Nova Scotia, because I'd say about 25-30% of my clients have been out of towners, mainly from Ontario. So I know what it's like. They hang up on you. They give you fake numbers when they log on. But when you call and the number doesn't work, you just move on to the next. Don't forget, they don't know you. And it's, you know, horrible to say, they don't know you. They don't care about you. So you just have to keep that in mind. It's just a numbers name. You're just calling. And if you can have, you know, one decent conversation a day, which doesn't always happen, that usually puts you in a good mood. And make sure when you're done that call that you always have a note to follow up, you know, whether it's next week, the next day, or a few months later. Because there's a lot of people thinking of moving from Ontario, but I do realize most of them probably won't do it. But I have to follow up and see if they're going to. It's just the nature of sales in general, but the nature of building a relationship and building trust between someone who's never seen your face, who doesn't know you, and who's also in a different province, because most of my leads are coming from Ontario right now.
Yeah. And I mean, that's definitely one of those things that's going to be harder when you are not really so adjacent to like a highly saturated market. Like, for example, somewhere you would want to move out of where the cost of living is very high. But yeah, if you are like, and for anybody on the call here, like anybody that's in Ontario, you know, if you are living out in sort of a different area, right, like sort of a less saturated area, and you have like a city center very, very close to you, for example, Toronto, always remember that there's people that are starting to get sick of paying, you know, $2,200 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment, you know, and those people could be, you know, some great clients for, you know, for somebody who may be, you know, out of the city, further north in the province, depending on where you are. Maybe you're in the States, like if you're in Miami, for example, and you have, you know, some agents that are working sort of north of that, right? It's all about relocation in those big city centers. So that's definitely a great point. And then sort of, I'll try to wrap it up here, as I don't want to take up too much of your time today, Eric, but just in terms of the follow-up, like I'd like to ask what that step-by-step process looked like for you, right? Like say, for example, when a lead comes in, right? What's, is there a script that you're using specifically? Are there certain things and certain points that you're trying to address as soon as a lead comes in? What does that step-by-step process look like as soon as a lead is generated from Facebook to the point where, you actually go and view some homes with them?
Yeah, so I mean, I prefer to get them on a phone and have a conversation, but we all know that that doesn't always work. And I also try to get them on if I'm texting, I try to get them texting my number, not the Generate Agent CRM. And nothing against the CRM. It's just easier to do on my text than it is on that. It depends. If I try to find out basically what they're looking for, and a lot of them are from Ontario, so I need to find out if they've ever been to Nova Scotia, because if they haven't, I do realize the chances of them just picking up and moving are probably pretty slim. So have they been to Nova Scotia? What are they looking for? What's their time frame? Are they approved? And if they're not, I text them someone they can call right away to get an approval. And then obviously if I can get all those answered and I get them on the phone, I normally don't text the last question, but the last question is just, have they viewed things in person and are they working with an agent, which we all have to find out. But if they answer most of those questions by text, I set them up on the search if it hasn't been done already. And if they're waiting for a mortgage approval, I'll just tell them I'll call them in a couple of days. And then I usually pass their info on to my mortgage broker automatically to have him call them. So even though they didn't tell me they wanted another opinion, if I'm calling the potential client and my mortgage broker is calling at the same time, one of us should reach them and be able to tell the other one, yes, these people are legit, or no, they're probably a waste of time. So that's pretty much the strategy. Figure out those questions. Try to get them in touch with a mortgage broker, try to get them on the phone to chat, find out if they're approved. And then after that, just if they're approved and they look like they're ready to buy like now, then send them some options that maybe are hand-picked, and then follow up later that day or the next day to see which ones they want to view. They won't always reply. A lot of times you'll have a quick conversation and you'll never hear from them again. And they sound like they want to buy. But it's just the nature of the business, and that's pretty much it. I mean, usually if you've been in real estate for a while, you can kind of get an idea when you're speaking to someone if they're legit. I mean, if they're legit and they're pre-approved and they haven't viewed anything yet and they don't have a realtor, I mean, that's golden. You just gotta get them out. And unfortunately, in Toronto, it's a different market. Sometimes you just want to go out and meet people because it's hard enough to get someone interested. Here, I generally won't do a viewing unless they are pre-approved either by my guy or they verbally tell me they have an approval in place and they know the number and the number makes sense for the market. But I have taken a chance here or there, and it has worked out. So it just depends on your market and what you want to do there. But it's really just getting a conversation going, either by text, preferably in person, setting them up on a search, which again is not part of the system. That would be an additional step to have yourself or someone in your family do for you, because does take some time, but because they're looking for a homes list, because that's the ad they're replying to. So you got to get them a homes list, at least within 24 hours of them clicking the ad.
Yeah, that's always the one thing that's not utilized effectively, but should be, right? Is if you are speaking with somebody, like, you can use that homes list as your hook to get your foot in the door, but you still have to deliver on that eventually, right down the line. So one last question here, Eric, and then I'll let you go. I just wanted to sort of see, if you had a little bit of a piece of advice, right, for newer clients, maybe they're around the 1 to 2 month mark, getting a little bit discouraged. Just some advice, and things that you wish that you may have implemented or learned sooner, right? So these things could pertain to mindset, CRM use, really anything at all. But yeah, like, if there was any piece of advice that you could give those agents, what would that be?
Yeah, like I'll be honest, I'm 44 years old, and I've off and on, I've been knocking on doors for many different products. since I've been 16 years old. So the mindset of not giving up, I've had at a very young age. But in all the jobs that I've done, selling flowers door to door, newspapers, telecommunications, among other stuff, real estate was the hardest job to get the hang of it, because I was used to closing a sale on the spot because you're door knocking. Real estate, it's not like that. You know, there's clients that I've spoken to that I know won't buy for 2-3 years from now. So it's just a long-term gain. I mean, I do realize that someone says they don't want to buy for 2-3 years. I'd still set up the search, but probably not really follow up. I'm really looking for people that are looking to buy in the same year that we're in, because I have so many leads. But if you just started this program, you're doing 200-300 a month in ad spend, and you're in a saturated market like Toronto, where maybe the ads are costing more and you're only getting 1 or 2 leads a day, make sure you speak to every one of those leads. I would call those leads every single day at different times until you get a conversation going, either by text or by phone. And then you'll know. And then if, you know, and you don't want to convince someone, if someone's not ready to purchase, you move on. I have a, you know, my attitude is, if I can have a good conversation and people are genuine, great. If people, you know, are not so genuine and they want me off the phone, then I leave them be and I move on. I'm not, I know in the Toronto market, a lot of agents just push. And you got to push sometimes, but I think you got to push when you have a client already and it's time to push to write an offer. I don't think you necessarily want to push too much to get the client, because they're probably just gonna, you know, do a few viewings with you and then just move on. So you want to find someone that's genuinely interested and willing to work with you. And again, whether you're getting a, you know, a buyer designated brokerage or a BRA, a buyer representation document signed. In Nova Scotia, it's pretty relaxed. I don't really do those anymore. I just trust people. If I feel I can't trust them, I won't work with them. I do know bigger markets are different, and that's another obstacle, that when you meet someone, maybe not on the first day you meet them, but if you know you're going to be working with them, you want to get them to sign that document. But again, that's probably a conversation for another day, because it does depend on the market. But if you're not getting that many leads, I would try to make sure that you speak to all those leads and make sure they're set up on the MLS system, or if you're in Toronto, Treb, and they're getting alerts. You know, if you've never spoken to them, you don't know what they're looking for, just do an average, you know, between 400 and it depends if it's a home or a condo, but just do between 400 and 800 for a condo starting at a 1-bedroom. And if it's a home, you know, you got to go a lot higher, just so they can see stuff. If they see something that piques their interest, they might think you're the listing agent and they're going to call you. You'll get a viewing and you'll either pick up a client, you'll waste your time, or you might write an offer and get the deal. But I think those listing alerts do help a lot, because they're just another form of getting your face in front of the potential buyer.
Yeah. We've actually heard from a lot of our successful clients, right, guys, that these listing alerts, these like automatically updating sort of homes lists, these are great things, because again, you can obviously send somebody like a static list of homes. That's, you know, totally fine, and they'll view it, and, you know, maybe they'll see something they like. But you know, you want to remember that you're playing the numbers game here. If we're sending out one list of homes to like 1,000 leads, versus setting up 1,000 leads on, you know, an automated campaign where they're going to get, you know, one every week, you can obviously see where there's going to be a lot more touch points, which is going to equal to a lot more conversations being started for you. So yeah, Eric, I think that's, you know, really all we've got for today. I don't want to keep you for too much longer here. So I really do appreciate you sort of taking the time out of your day to come on this call with us and sort of share some of your insights, as I do believe, you know, a lot of people on the call here could definitely pick up a thing or two. You know, online lead generation is never a super easy game, right? But it is, like you said, a lot based on the mindset and just not giving up. So yeah, Eric, like, let me know if there was anything else, but if not, you know, feel free to sort of end it off there. And yeah, again, I really appreciate your time today. If there was anybody here on the call that had questions for Eric, I don't see any that came in yet. I think, Michael, we had answered this one regarding the tweaking of the ads, right? But yeah, if there's any more questions, guys, definitely let me know. Eric, I think we should be good to hop off here for you. So again, I appreciate your time here. And I will sort of just go ahead and remove you now. But yeah, you know where to find me if you ever need me, Eric. And yeah, have a wonderful day.
Perfect. Thank you. And I see the question there from Michael. I mean, feel free if anybody wants to message me privately to give them my Century 21 email, or you can call me. I mean, I'm a salesperson like anyone else, just trying to earn a living. I may have more or less experience than some of you on the call, and online lead generation is quite different than obviously getting a a referral from a friend that's ready to buy, but it does work. You just gotta put in the time, and the more time you put in now, the less time you'll have to put in the future. And I'm brand new to Facebook ads too. After this call, there's a tweak that I want to make that I'm gonna email someone about as well, because I know Michael had a question there about tweaking ads. I mean, the ads are done by Generate Agent Leads and they're working. I just change sometimes where I'm advertising to and kind of change my budget up and down just to kind of see what type of leads I get. But again, that's me trying that out. You don't need to. If you're just doing the minimum of 300 a month, you should get a decent amount of leads just from that. So thanks for having me on, and have a great day. And I'll send my my email right now if anybody has any questions.
Send your email address here in the chat, and I think Michael had actually requested it. So yeah, looks like you got it right there.
And I sent my number there too. If someone wants to call, sometimes it's better just to talk than an email. So feel free to give me a call.
Awesome. All right. Well, Eric, it was wonderful talking to you today. All the best, and we will chat soon.
Perfect. Cheers. Good luck, everybody.
Bye. All right, guys. So that was an awesome conversation. We'd love to have you guys on, to chat about your successes and sort of how you've been being able to utilize the system effectively. So that being said, guys, I think we'll wrap it up there. That was definitely a more fruitful call, right? These Wednesday calls are usually CRM analysis, but when we have the chance to bring in a client, we definitely want to take that. So yeah, if there was any other questions here, guys, we'll leave the chat open here for about 2 more minutes or so. Michael, thank you. Happy to help, Michael. Definitely reach out to Eric, and I'm sure you guys can sort of chop it up and get some good information and some value out of each other. So yeah, we'll wait for another minute or so here. If there's no